Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us today at the Sunshine Coast Regional District and our regular board meeting of Thursday, November 26th, 2020. We're all very grateful to be here today. I would like to acknowledge that the Sunshine Coast Regional District operates on the traditional territories of the Sechelt and the Squamish First Nations. We are just calling to order a little bit later today at 2:01 due to a lengthy corporate administrative services meeting earlier today. But we do have a number of agenda items in front of us, including some that were added on later. Before I go to an adoption of our amended agenda, I would like to introduce a new face around our table, if that's okay. And that is our communications and engagement manager, Mr. Aidan Buckley, who is within his first week at the SCRD. And I know directors all very much wanted to see your face today and offer you collectively a warm welcome and and applause, as you can see from Director Seegers. We are very happy to have you with us. I don't want to put you on the spot. You're welcome to say a word or two if you'd like, but it's not necessary. But we'd be, you'll be seen and hearing from us. But Mr. Buckley, go ahead.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks so much for the introduction and the goodwill there from everybody, and yourself, Chair Pratt. Really excited to be here. There's a lot of opportunity coming up for us, particularly from an engagement and communication standpoint. Really excited to get going, to build on the work that's already been done here by staff and our communications officer, and have no doubt that we'll be talking lots into the future here. So again, thank you very much for the welcome, and really excited to be here.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, and applause from and gratitude that you have chosen us as the next point in your career. So thank you so much, and I hope you're settling well into the Sunshine Coast. Okay, so with that, we have an amended agenda in front of us today. Before we go to moving to adopt an amended agenda, I'm going to ask directors and staff if there are any additional items to add on to this amended agenda. Director McMahon.
Yes, I'd like to add one item of new business.
Okay.
Which is Buy Local Week.
Buy Local Week. Okay, so new business, Director McMahon. Anything else from other directors? From staff? Okay, not seeing anything. I'm going to ask for a motion to adopt this amended agenda in front of us today, please. So moved Director Seegers, seconded Director Beamish. All those in favor? Thank you, motion carries. First up, we have our minutes, our regular board meeting minutes of November 12th, 2020, Annex A, pages 1 through 8 of our package. So I'm going to be looking, I'm going to be looking for, are there any changes, errors, omissions, additions, subtractions within these minutes? Otherwise, I'm going to be looking for a motion to receive and adopt these minutes, please. Director Toth, seconded Director Seegers. Any further discussion on this item? Seeing none, I will call the question. All those in favor? Thank you, motion carries. Is there any business arising from the minutes or unfinished business? Looking to directors or to staff if there's anything that needs to be brought up from those minutes. Seeing none, we will move on. We have no presentations and delegations today. We have a number of reports and communications to get through, so I'm going to ask for a motion to receive all reports and communications, please. So moved and second. All those in favor? Thank you, motion carries. Okay, moving on through, the first thing we have up on our list is the Special Corporate and Administrative Services Committee pre-budget recommendations numbers 1 through 18 of November 5th and 6th, 2020, Annex B, pages 9 through 17 of our package. Directors, before we move this as a block, are there any of these recommendations you would like to pull out to debate separately? Seeing none, I'm going to ask for a motion to adopt these recommendations from the Special Corporate and Administrative Services Committee of November 5th to 6th. So moved, Director Seegers, seconded Director Toth. Any further discussion? Before we move on, I will say these were two very long days and with lots and lots of discussion and handled very well and shared very well by Director Seegers. So with that, I will call the question. All those in favor? Thank you. Motion carries. Next up, Annex C, pages 18 to 23 of our package. And these number 4 on your agenda. This is the Planning and Community Development Committee recommendations numbers 1 through 6, 8, 9, 12, and 14 through 18 of November 12th, 2020. Directors or staff, are there any that you'd like to pull out? Corporate Officer?
Thank you, Chair. Staff requests that planning recommendation number 4 on page 19 of the agenda package be pulled from the block to be considered as a standalone recommendation.
Okay.
This request is being made on the basis of a request in writing from the applicant that the board provide an opportunity for further representation either in writing or in the form of a delegation with respect to development variance permit application 00054 for 4355 Lake Road. The applicant's request alleges they were not provided the full opportunity to be heard at the November 12th Planning and Community Development meeting. Staff will note the SCRD has met the legislative requirements with respect to being heard on the DVP application. Therefore, the board is not compelled to grant this request. However, should the board wish to hear further representations before making their decision today, they may choose to hold that recommendation in abeyance. The matter would then be deferred to a January meeting in order to provide an equal opportunity for the affected neighboring properties to also make further representations on that application, should they choose to.
Okay. Okay, so Corporate Officer, before we, so we'll pull number 4 from the block at this time, and I'll look to directors and staff to see if there are any other recommendations from this package from Annex C that you would also like pulled. Okay, so seeing none, I'm going to ask that for a motion to adopt the recommendations with the exception of number 4. If I can have that motion, please, to adopt those recommendations, except number 4, please. So moved, Director McMahon, seconded Director Toth. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I will call the question. All those in favor? Thank you. Okay, and then on to number 4. Okay, so the Corporate Officer has explained the motivation for pulling number 4 from the block. I'm going to look to directors to see if you have questions. Director Seegers.
Thank you. Since it's been pulled from the block, can you just clarify voting on this, please?
Okay. Corporate Officer, please.
Thank you, Chair. The voting on that recommendation would be for rural areas only, A, B, D, E, and F.
Okay. Thank you, Corporate Officer. Directors. Rural directors only are voting on this item. I'm going to ask if there's any further questions on this item on number 4 on page 19 of our package. Okay, seeing none, I'm going to look to the rural directors. Is there a motion to adopt this recommendation or for further action on this recommendation from the Planning and Community Development Committee? Or do you need further clarification from staff? Director Lee, and then Director Ties.
I'd like further direction from the staff on this. Is there a proposed motion or what's?
Would you like the Corporate Officer to repeat what she said earlier, Director Lee?
Yes.
Would that help?
I think she's looking for one of us to make a motion. So I'd like to.
Yeah,
know
she's.
what she said.
Thank you, Chair.
So corporate officer, if you could clarify, please, or repeat what you had said earlier.
Yes, thank you. So the request is being made in response to a letter that we received from the applicant's legal counsel, and they requested an opportunity to make further representation to the board with respect to the delegation presented at the November 12th Planning and Community Development meeting. Their allegation is that they were not provided the full opportunity to be heard at that meeting, so they would like an additional opportunity to present further information. With respect to this application, we just want to clarify that it's really the board's, it's the board's decision at this point if they feel they have enough information to make that decision or if they're seeking further clarification. So we have met the legislative requirements with respect to this application. You're not compelled to grant another delegation, but should we do that, we would also have to provide equal opportunity to the neighboring properties that have been affected by this application as well. So the matter could not be revisited today. We would have to refer it to a January meeting. And you could hold that recommendation in abeyance, so not make a decision further to other representations by the applicant or the neighbors. Or if you feel you have enough information, you can vote on that recommendation as it was made at the Planning and Community Development Committee on November 12th.
Okay, so to clarify, we can either, we can choose to hear another representation from the applicant, or if we choose not to, we can go to the decision. And when you say corporate officer in abeyance, we would just essentially just leave this recommendation hanging, or would we defer it to a future meeting?
We would hold the recommendation and then bring it forward for a decision at a January meeting, and it could be subject to whatever condition the board decides, should they choose to hold it in abeyance.
Okay, so I'm going to go to Director Seegers first. Do you have a question?
Yes, I think that what we're looking to the corporate officer for is what are the two potential motions that we would actually be looking to make? One would be adopt the recommendation as presented.
Correct.
But I think what we're looking for is clarity on what the second motion would actually read.
So the second option would be that the recommendation be held in abeyance, subject to be referred to a January meeting, subject to further representation from the applicant and the neighboring properties on that application.
Thank you.
Okay, that's okay. So I'm going to look to the rural directors. So the question is do you feel you have enough information to make the decision on recommendation number 4 at this time? Or would you like to hear further representation and essentially hold the recommendation in abeyance until January meeting? Director Ties, I see you there.
Thank you, Chair. This is a difficult one because this is a very complex matter with multiple jurisdictions, as well as different timelines and all sorts of things that have come into it, and apparently, yes, 5,000 pages of documentation were assembled to treat this file. So and I don't think any of us are either willing, capable, or qualified to go through all those 5,000 pages and come up with a better solution than what staff has done. I think staff has done a good job getting down to the essentials on this, and I'm going to put my faith in staff's recommendations at this point.
Okay, thank you, Director Ties. Next up, I have Director McMahon and then Director Hiltz. And then Director Lee, I will come to you. So Director McMahon, Director Hiltz, please.
Thank you. I feel that this matter has been going on for a very long time, and it's really difficult on everybody involved if decisions are indefinitely postponed. Yes, and I would also support the recommendation of staff. Thank you.
Okay, and Director Hiltz?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Yeah, in my opinion, I've received enough. The question I have is the letter that is that the corporate officer is referring to. Does that need to be received by this committee? How does that correspondence? How is it to be managed?
Thank you, Chair. So that the letter was received late on Tuesday, and staff, we're still reviewing it. We could forward the letter to the directors, but it doesn't form part of the package for this agenda. Potentially, it could come forward if you choose to hold it in abeyance and consider it at a later date. It could come forward on a public agenda in that manner, or it could be routed to directors through correspondence.
Director Hiltz, does that answer your question sufficiently?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Okay. Director Lee, I'm going to come over to you because this is an area A.
I actually see no reason to question the staff's recommendation that we voted on at the last meeting. What's that motion that says, yeah, we like the decision we made earlier?
So just bear with me. So that's the one on page 19. Sorry, 19 of our package. Number 4 is the Planning and Community Development Committee recommended that the report titled DVP 435, DVP application DVP 000544355 Lake Road be received, and that development variance permit application DVP 000544355 Lake Road be denied. So that's the recommendation number 4 that we're on page 19 of our current package, whether or not what we're deciding to do with that right now, whether or not we're going to adopt that or hold it in abeyance. And
I'd like to make that motion to accept the recommendations as submitted earlier.
Okay, so to clarify, so the motion would be to adopt recommendation number 4 of the Planning and Community Development Committee of November 12th, 2020.
Yep.
Okay, and I saw a seconder with Director McMahon. Thank you. Any further discussion on this item? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to call the question. And once again, this voting is for rural areas only. So my rural directors, all those in favor? Thank you. Motion carries. Okay. Next up, thank you, staff, and thank you, directors. Next up, Annex D, pages 24 to 27 of our package, number 5 on your agenda. And this is the Infrastructure Services Committee recommendations numbers 1 through 15 of November 19th, 2020. Directors and staff, before we move to these recommendations as a whole, are there any here that you would like to pull out of the block? I see no one jumping up and down, so I am going to ask for a motion to adopt the Infrastructure Services Committee recommendations, numbers 1 through 15 of November 19th, 2020. So moved Director McMahon, seconded Director Hiltz. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I will call the question. All those in favor? Thank you. Motion carries. Next up, number 6, placement of title. Oh, sorry, just hang on one second. We have 5A, which is pages 27A-B of our package. And these are the Corporate and Administrative Services Committee recommendations, numbers 1, 8, 10 to 13, and 15 to 16 of earlier today. So directors, before we move these as a block, would you like to pull any of them to debate further? Sorry, I'm trying not to giggle, but because we had a very long discussion on these items earlier today. But Director Toth, I see your hand up.
I'd like to pull recommendation 13 on page 27B.
Okay, so number 13 on 27B. Okay. Directors, any other ones that you'd like to pull out at this time? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to ask for a motion to adopt these recommendations with the exception of number 13 on page 27B. So can I have that motion? So moved Director Toss, seconded Director Seegers. Any further discussion on these items? Seeing none, I will call the question. All those in favor? Thank you. Motion carries. Next up, so Director Toth, I'll leave it to you to open up on number 13, page 27B.
Thank you. I mean, I said my piece in the Corporate and Administrative Services Committee this morning. I don't see the justification for a 14 and 5% increase in the regional water service rates. So I'll be voting against this particular recommendation.
Okay. Thank you, Director Toth. Any further discussion on this item? Or any other discussion on this item? Okay, so I am going to ask, is there a motion to adopt recommendation number 13? So move Director Hill. Oh, sorry. I see my CFO with a hand up. CFO?
Yeah, and just reading them, sorry, Chair. It just says, and the end that in the second paragraph. I think it was intended for it to say that the user fees and metered usage be increased by 14% and parcel taxes by 5%. The no increase there, I think I think we need to remove that part. The no increase.
Okay, thank you. So we will have to take that out as part of the recommend. We'll have to amend the recommendation for that. And then also before we actually go any further, we also need to just clarify voting on this because it is regional water service. And because if you can just clarify voting, corporate officer, please.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, it's electoral areas A, B, D, E, F, and District of Sechelt.
Thank you. Okay. So this recommendation does need to be amended to remove the in the first and that the and no increase be removed in the third line of that.
The amendment.
Okay, so move the amendment, Director Seegers, seconded Director Hiltz. All those in favor of that amendment? Thank you. So that is amended. Now I have to think about where I am. We did move and second this. Is this correct? I got lost when I saw Tina putting her hand up, so I just want to clarify where we are in the process.
We moved and seconded the recommendation, and then we made an amendment, and that's been moved and seconded and voted on.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So we have an amended recommendation in front of us. Is there any further discussion on this? Thank you, Director Seegers, for helping me keep on track there. Okay, seeing none, I will call the question. All those in favor? And once again, it's electoral areas and District of Sechelt. And those opposed? Director Toth, thank you. And I will ask, you would like that registered? Yes, thank you. Okay, so going back to where we were here, just bear with me one moment while I get to the right spot. Next up, we have Annex E, pages 28 to 29 of our package, number 6 in the agenda, and this is placement of notice on title. This is our chief building official and our CAO. So CAO, would you like to lead it off? And then we'll pass it over to Mr. Whittleton.
Thank you, Chair. GM Hall is away this week on some well-deserved vacation, so I'm going to do my best to channel my inner Ian. Under sections 57(1) of the community charter, staff recommend that a notice be registered against the land title where a building official observes a condition with respect to land, building, or other structure that is considered to contravene a regional district bylaw, provincial regulation, or any other enactment that relates to the construction or safety of buildings or other structures. Such notices help to protect the regional district from liability relating to unauthorized construction and future owners of property. In this case, staff recommended that notice be placed on title for one property, 4355 Lake Road. Construction has occurred which is not consistent with the approved building permit drawings. A stop work order was posted on the project, but work on the building continued and is now nearing completion. This building now contains aspects of construction that have been concealed without inspection approval. A development variance permit application was also considered by the board. The reason for recommending notice on title, specifically unauthorized, uninspected construction, some of which is now concealed, is distinct from the planning matter and will not be resolved even if a variance is granted. So the previous development variance permit application and this notice on title are completely separate issues. In some cases, staff bring forward remedial action recommendations at the same time that notice is placed on title. In this case, respecting that there is a planning application underway, staff have not included such recommendations. Pending decision on the variance application, staff may return with a follow-up report regarding next steps. We have Chief Building Official Alan Whittleton in the meeting today as a resource if there are technical questions.
Okay, I will look to directors to see if you have any questions. Or Mr. Whittleton, if you wanted to add any comments to what the CAO has said.
Thank you, Chair. I have no further comments, but if you have any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them.
Okay. And corporate officer, please.
I just want to note that the owner may be in the gallery and we should check in.
Okay, thank you very much, corporate officer, for that reminder. Just as a note that we do have the owner, I do believe we have the owner in the attendee list. Or we may have. If they would like to speak, it looks like she may have left. Is there an owner who would like to speak to this? I'm not seeing any. Okay. So with that, directors, do you have any questions of staff? Or I will ask for either a motion or Director Lee.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the recommendations from our Chief Building Officer as listed on page
28. Okay, so Director Lee will move the recommendation on page 28. I see a seconder from Director McMahon. Any further discussion on this item? Seeing none, I will call the question. All those in favor? Thank you. Those opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Okay, so let's see. Next up, we have number 7, our Chief Administrative Officer's report of November 26, 2020. And this is on pages 29A, B of our package. So CAO McKinley, would you like to speak to anything or just start taking questions?
Happy to unmute first and then happy to take any questions anyone has.
Okay, so I will look to directors to see if you have any questions. I will say that the weekly CAO update to directors has been very welcome, and it's nice to have that. And I hope it did help with the writing of the report as well.
It sure did, and I wish I could take more credit for it, but let's just say Tracy's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Tracy's wonderful. Okay, directors, any questions or comments for the CAO on anything within his report? Okay. Excellent. Okay, so with that, We will move on. And next up, we have our communications, number 8, Annex F, pages 30 to 31. And this is a communication from Kevin Richter, the Acting Deputy Minister, Ministry of Transportation. And this was regarding our delegation at UBCM. And any comments from directors on this? We've already received it, but just any comments or feedback or follow-up. It's essentially a thank you that was sent because we sent a thank you. So it was great. And I will note that Director Beamish is following the swearing in of cabinet, and Selena Robinson has been sworn in as the Minister of Finance, which is pretty exciting. So that's excellent. Okay. Wow. So we have no motions today. We have no bylaws for a change, but we do have directors' reports, and I am going to start with Director Ties, because you're very much making a point of not making eye contact.
Why, thank you, Chair. Making eye contact on Zoom, how ironic. Yeah, things are heating up in the creek. District Law 1312 is coming back for a continuation of their application. So keep your eyes peeled for future PCD agendas. The same goes for property on Pixton that is also making a comeback, and so there's plenty of correspondence going into my inbox on both of those accounts. There is also, the OCP committee, the one and only in British Columbia, the one and only standing one in British Columbia, has just held its most recent elections, and 6 new members have been selected. They're back to a full complement of 11 now, and so that's continuing on. And I think that's about it from the newsroom for me. Thank you.
Excellent. Okay, thank you very much, Director Ties. Next up, I have Director Hiltz, please.
Thank you, Chair. I'm all, Area F is also engaged in a preliminary public consultation on a property which is known as the Grantham's Post Office. It's following the same process that Director Ties mentioned. A notice was put in the Coast Reporter, and it is definitely generating some interest. So this is the preliminary consultation, which is led by the applicant. So it took a little bit of time sort of straightening out whose consultation the public was supposed to be dealing with. So I think that is more or less straightened out. Zoom, was able to, zoom into, is that a verb now when you zoom into? So I zoom into the Gambier Island Local Trust meeting, which is usually in North Vancouver, but was held virtually. So I was able to participate for about half of that on November 19th. The civics virtual conference that happened this week, Monday and Tuesday, dropped into a couple of those. It was it's an odd process to watch something that is live and recorded, and you can actually come in late and catch up by looking at it 1.5 times speed, so you get into real time. So it was it was interesting. A couple things that I heard from that is that local governments are not designed to change rapidly. That seems to be the elected folks around BC. That's one of the things they said during COVID. And the optimism of COVID is that the cooperation between people is surprising everyone, that there's a lot of cooperation and people feeling that they're all together. And also something that I really haven't thought about is the partnerships available between academic institutions. You have a I believe Director McMahon has been interviewed by some academic doing some research, and it seems to be a place that has really, I don't know if the SCRD has done much of that in the past. The town of Gibsons has through their water plan. There was a thesis done on the Gibsons Aquifer, but I don't know if the SCRD taps into this resource. So I think that's enough for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Hiltz. Next up, I have Director Seegers.
Thank you. A few things happening in Sechelt. The Downtown Business Association, BIA, is the Business Improvement Area bylaw, is ends in 2022. So they are starting the process right now because they are needing to redefine what that looks like. So you'll be hearing more about that coming forward. July 2021. Right. Sunshine Coast Homelessness Advisory Committee's had a few meetings, and they're looking at a couple of issues. I know probably Director Beamish will be talking about his supportive housing complex, but we have a few other things that are potentially in process. The Royal Reach timeline has been expanded to supplement what the homeless shelter in downtown Sechelt has right now. Because of COVID, they're having to have less numbers in there. There's also plans to work on the main floor and have that space as well available. BC Housing purchased the building, and so they're looking at doing some changes to that. A number of us attended iced tea meetings. I attended two. One is the board as well. And there are potentially other programs coming through there that the provincial government is looking at funding through iced tea. So we'll watch for those coming. We invited Nicholas Simons back to our leaders meeting on Fridays. Every other Friday, we have a meeting with our MP, our MLA, and the local leaders here on the Sunshine Coast. And he's now sworn in, so he attended our last meeting. On Sunday, I attended the final session of the LGBTQ2+ group. It was trans fabulous, a little different world than what I'm used to, and but it was really interesting, informative, and it's a great group of people that were just sharing openly about their challenges living in the world that they are creating for themselves. And then CAT, the Community Action Team. We had a meeting this week. We have been approved for another year of funding. We are putting together what the work is that the CAT is going to do over the next year, and that has to be submitted, but we have already been approved for funding, and we are approved for $100,000, which is what we had this year. So you will be getting an invitation to an anti-stigma workshop that is being put on specifically for the Sunshine Coast. Please, take the opportunity if you can attend. That's it for me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Director Seegers. Next up, I have Dr. Beamish, please.
Good afternoon. I'm just watching Josie Osborne get sworn in, but I don't know if we're watching yet. So
congratulations on your appointment to the Executive Council as Minister of Municipal Affairs.
Minister of Municipal Affairs, Josie Osborne.
That's awesome.
My oath is signed.
Okay, sorry, just distracted. And Nathan Cullen is Lands and Natural Resources. So it's something new there. The pool still is a persistent issue we have in Gibsons. A lot of people still anxious to see the pool opened. There's still a ongoing initiative in terms of the group that got a petition together. They're both concerned with how quickly it can be open and open for time for Christmas, so the youth can use it, and also the numbers that can be in there, the times of day. The times of day are important because if it's just open until 3:30 in the afternoon, that kind of eliminates the student lifeguard positions that might be available. So I haven't heard an update on that, and I don't know if perhaps Dean is able to give one this afternoon to us, with Ian being away. And perhaps I'll go on just, and he can perhaps think about that. Homeless, we're working on both the supportive housing, which I now understand is to be ready by the third week in January. It is a bit of a moving target, but it is still moving forward. The shelter, winter shelter, is another concern. In that sense, I understand that the YMCA was talking with BC Housing and perhaps even the Salvation Army, looking for a way. Oops, Nicholas Simons has been sworn in. Hang on a sec.
I, Nick Simons, affirm that I will serve Her Majesty duly and faithfully, and to the best of my ability, fulfill the responsibilities and trust granted to me as a member of the Executive Council of British Columbia. I, Nick Simons, affirm that I will keep confidential all matters dealt with in the Executive Council, and I will not disclose any of the same to any person other than a member of the Executive Council, except as authorized by it or as required in the lawful discharge of my duties as a member of the Executive Council.
Congratulations on your appointment to Executive Council as Minister of Social Development and Poverty Reduction.
Wow.
Thank you, Your Honor. My oath has...
That's good to hear, eh?
Yeah, that's good to hear.
And
Thank you for sharing that, Bill.
Okay. Yeah, so the shelter is very important. I understand. I haven't heard of any movement today, but there was some talk of that even the opportunity perhaps to for the Y to use their transport to move people from the Gibsons area down to the YMCA camp and then back and forth. So I'm certainly hopeful. And Dean, I don't know if you have any update on that either. And the final thing I had is that we have finished our strategic plan review, and we're going to go out with kind of an update, postcard update to the community on that, as well as asking them for any ideas that they have for budget for 2021 and beyond, recognizing that many ideas may come forward, but we may not be able to action them all in this year's budget, but we won't ignore them either. We'll put them on the kind of a list for the community to look at. So that's where we are. Other things, iced tea and the leadership meeting, Mayor Seegers has covered. So I don't know if there's any opportunity for an update on the pool.
I will look over to CAO McKinley. Would you like to go ahead?
Yes, thank you for the question. And I just, by wildest coincidence, happened to have Graham Don on speakerphone, and he'd be happy to provide folks with a bit of an update on Gibson's pool. Well, go ahead, Graham, if you can hear me.
Okay, thank you, CAO. So Graham Don here, Manager Recreation. We are currently working towards opening Gaddafi. We have staff working at the facility, just kind of preparing, getting everything underway. We have our barriers coming down for our protective screen at the front desk. And we're also waiting for the information to come out from the health office in regards to some of the updates to our safety plans that need to be made, as well as what might be required to reintroduce fitness classes. So right now we're underway, we're on track. I think it's probably going to be more towards end of December, early January. But we're working our way as fast as we can. We have some job postings out to hopefully increase our staffing complement.
Thank you, Graham.
Thank you very much, Mr. Don. Director Beamish, did you have a question or comment?
Well, I guess once again, it's just that looking at that Christmas break period with kids out of school and parents with kids, I'd certainly appreciate if something could be done in terms of getting the students used as lifeguards even during that period. It's important to a community that is like everybody else, isolating and doing their best. But we did have trained recreation people before. I'd hope that some of those are available to come back. And it's disappointing if we don't get it, if we can't move whatever we have to move to get it done before Christmas.
Okay, and I mean, at the same time, we are in a pandemic, and we do need to be cautious with how we move forward, especially with the potential of additional restrictions. So, staff, I know staff is working hard to make sure everything is following proper protocol. So, CAO.
Yeah, just a follow up to Mayor Beamish, and you made a really good point, Mayor Beamish, that it's around the lifeguards, the pool lifeguards, and this isn't unique to the Sunshine Coast. Anywhere in BC, and probably anywhere in Canada for that matter, if a pool closes for any length of time, it can become a challenge to keep all your lifeguards. That's what they do. They can't go to the pool down the road and start working there. And a lot of times the lifeguards are younger, they go back to school, they find a different job. So what we are doing is we're working with the lifeguards we have left. We're trying very hard to recruit new ones. And the reason the pool hours are sort of speculated to be where they'll be when we open is because we're having to spread our lifeguard contingent around all 3 pools on the Sunshine Coast. And that's sort of the situation we're in. It's not unique at all. It's just part of the challenge of running aquatic facilities.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, next up, so after Director Beamish, the next step on the list I have is Director Toth, please.
Thank you, Chair. Interesting is a interesting term for the CIVEX conference earlier this week. I tried attending a few sessions. I just couldn't stay engaged with it. This coming Monday is District of Sechelt Council Conversations at 6 p.m. So make sure to come say hi. Our attendance is not what it is at, say, the Area B town halls. So it'd be nice to get a few more people out. The Sechelt Downtown Business Association is hosting Shop Hop today, with businesses staying open later this evening to encourage shopping locally. I know the mall's staying open until 7 p.m. I think the rest of the businesses are being encouraged to stay open until 8. A lot of our businesses have suffered through COVID all over the coast and could definitely use some love and support. If you're not into buying things for Christmas, then think about experiences that you can get someone. A good puzzle book, a winemaking kit, something to teach them how to knit, a board game. Even treating someone to a nice Christmas dinner at one of our local restaurants might make a huge difference in their lives with all the social isolation going on. Assuming that we don't end up with further COVID restrictions going forward here. That's really all I have to say, other than I'm wondering if I can put forward a sudden motion here that the board chair on behalf of the board writes a letter of congratulations to Nick Simons as our local MLA and newly sworn in Minister of Social Development and Poverty Reduction.
Okay, so I see a seconder for that. Any further discussion on that? Seeing none, I will call the question. All those in favor of the board chair writing a letter of congratulations to our MLA? Terrific, that passes. I was just going to text him later, but we will make sure that we write a full letter as well. So fantastic. Thank you, Director Toth. Next up, I have Director McMahon.
Hello. I'm not going to cover off most of the meetings I went to, but I did want to mention that I really enjoyed our joint meeting with Cathette this week. That was a very good and informative meeting, and I'm glad we're keeping that up. I attended a few of the civics conference sessions. They probably run better on 1.5 forward, but a couple of things that were interesting to me. A student or professor at UVic is conducting a study on how people are moving post-COVID. And what I mean is moving, like moving homes, whether there is in fact a movement of people to rural areas. Her initial take on that was that areas that are within 1.5 hours commuting distance of cities are the ones that are seeing the big boom. Whether you think we have that or not is a matter of opinion, I think. But I'll be interested to see the results of that study. One of the presenters mentioned that the values of good government are cooperation, compromise, and inclusion. And I actually thought that was an interesting threesome. He was in fact comparing Canada to the US, but I like that. I think those are good values. The CAO of Richmond is urging municipalities to lobby to get a share of the provincial sales tax so that we would not be so completely dependent on property taxes. This is bound to be popular with municipalities and less popular with the provincial government, but what the heck? What have we got to lose here? Yeah, I think that was about it from the ones that I got to. I'd like to thank volunteers from the Elphinstone Community Association who went down to the beach and with crowbars and hacksaws and managed to get some really big hunks of styrofoam out of its encasing concrete and then get it off the beach. Good work. I am holding a rogue public consultation on active transportation in my area so that we can identify priorities for improvements to the active transportation network, especially those good, low cost, high value ones. And people are coming up with some great suggestions, by the way, and I'll be bugging the town of Gibsons too, because we need a connectivity plan between the two areas. And finally, the homeless issues are very much top of mind this Christmas, I think. I'll be talking about Buy Local Week in a minute, but this is the first year that I'm aware of homeless camps in Elphinstone. We've always had people living up in the mountain and in various sort of unconventional situations, but this is the first time that I'm aware of that we have homeless camps developing. This is not something I guess I really expected to see. And COVID makes it so difficult. I think it's going to be a really hard Christmas for a lot of people. And any work that we can do to come together and try to address these issues is important. So thank you.
Thank you, Director McMahon, and I would expect nothing else but rogue of you. So I'll move over to Director Lee and what's going on in Area A, please.
We probably know. Anyways, I attended an APC meeting yesterday. There was one of the agenda items was looking for recommendations or comments on new docs. And if you haven't had to attend one of those, they got a really neat way of doing it. They've now got a link to the actual application on the website, and you can get complete information. And I'll tell you, it's a real improvement. And it really solves that issue of a very long report in order for everybody to understand what we're talking about. And also there was actually staff recommendations ahead of time on the application to the APC. And I found that excellent addition because then they know what the planners are thinking and they can start from there. So I was very impressed with both of those aspects. They do continue to wonder why their meeting minutes are being changed. And I did point out that we were going to cover that under a new APC orientation. I'd really like to see that happen, but it's a heads up for everybody because they are considering proactively contacting your APC and asking what's happening with them. So I think you might expect that to happen. The I'm very interested in the pool discussion. I like lots of the comments, such like the 1 hour return trip is too long. And I'm kind of glad I'm not there, actually. And then we had a COVID task force meeting, and really we're doing quite well. That Sunshine Coast wide support for the food bank is really working out well, and it was basically just to make sure everything was fine. But one thing that I think is something we should talk about ourselves, and that is do we play a part in the communications of the COVID issues? And specifically what they were talking about is the whole conversation now is around wearing masks, but that isn't the whole issue. It's what happens when you're told to isolate and someone in your house is isolating. You don't have your wife going shopping for you. And in fact, they're isolated from the family, not just in the home. And that isn't understood anymore. The whole conversation seems to, if you put a mask on when you go out, everything's cool, and that isn't it. They talked about use of social media and websites and everything, but they didn't really arrive at a conclusion. But I think it's something with the EOC shut down now or on standby or level 1. We originally started out issuing bulletins on our website about things like that. I don't know if we go back to that, or I don't know if we post something in the local papers from our points of view, or who the heck does that? I don't know. But anyways, it was a very interesting conversation. The old keep 2 meters, even if you got the mask on, the whole thing. And at that meeting, they brought up a very disturbing thing, and that is our Sangster Marina is closing down, or actually sold, and it had ad hoc recreational vehicle camping on it, and they issued eviction notices as soon as it sold. So we've now got 8 more low income or no income people on the street now, and it's getting worse and worse, and we don't really have a good solution to that, to providing that kind of shelter. And these things can happen, and we at Pender here, we have several of those partially housed situations that are in fact we're turning a blind eye to, but even those can disappear. Kind of not a good thing to see. Anyways, that's my report. I wish I could be happier and joyful about all this stuff, but those is the facts in this COVID era. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, one thing, Director Lee, you talk about the communication piece around the COVID, and one thing that Director Seegers has done in her role as mayor is she's reinstituted the weekly video updates, and she's challenged Bill and I to do the same. So, but doing it on a rotation basis, so we're not all putting one out the same week or the same day, so that it's because we don't want people are already saturated on COVID. We know this. But just as a reminder, like, this is what this means in our community, and this is what this is how it applies to us. So that's one thing that Director Seegers put out last week. It's on the District of Sechelt website. I think it's a continuing conversation as we watch what our statistics and how our numbers grow. Because we all know that there are a lot of issues, and where this is an ultra marathon. It's not just a marathon. We're in this for the long haul, and we've got a lot longer to go yet. So, happy to brainstorm ideas too as well. If there's other things that you feel or anyone feels that we should be doing for more communication, but just making sure we have a cohesive message across all jurisdictions, especially for us here on the Sunshine Coast.
Yeah, if I could, I'll look and find that link, and if we can do that, we can direct that to our social media, and I think that might actually fill that void. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, and I will say, having had a child that returned home from Europe and in March and had to be isolated within our home, it's an interesting process to go through when you've had somebody within your home. And we were lucky; we had enough room that we could put a tray of food outside of her door and sanitize. And she had the entire top floor to deal with and be bored with for the 2 weeks before but that was, there has been a little bit of a level of complacency, but at the same time, we still know more about how everything spreads. And we all need to be very diligent in how we move forward with this. And so I'm up last. Everything that I was going to talk about has been talked about. I will just very quickly say that I've been getting tons of email and engagement opportunities regarding all things Area B, and we'll leave it at that. And looking for more engagements and emails and phone calls with other things going along. Was really happy with the meeting at Catet that we had with them, the joint meeting. I know they were super excited because they've been asking Tracy for a couple of days for meeting notes from it. So they're really gung-ho to follow up. And it was a really productive meeting. So that's fantastic. So with that, we had one item of new business that Director McMahon asked us to bring up, and Director McMahon, regarding Buy Local Week. Go ahead.
That's right. We don't do proclamations at the SCRD, but Scredo has been going to the other local governments for a proclamation of Buy Local Week, which is November the 30th to December the 6th. Everybody probably knows what their favorite local businesses are, but you may not know that you can get gift certificates for 100 local businesses online at supportlocalbc.com. I found it quite a good website. It's not just that you can buy the gift certificates, but you can go on and scroll through the businesses and get links to their websites. And I found that quite helpful because I immediately found a couple that I wasn't aware of previously. So there, you have no excuse not to get your Christmas shopping done. And in Area E, some of our roadside stands are still operating all winter. That's our retail.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
And one thing to note is it would be great to start your Christmas shopping early if you can, just to help alleviate lines later on. Director Beamish, I see you've unmuted yourself. Did you want to speak to this?
No, I'm just saying that I think we should actually be looking at Buy Local Month. I think that the whole idea of looking to big box stores outside this municipality for our Christmas shopping is just inappropriate. So that I've committed to not buying anything outside the municipality until January at the earliest. And even then, it's probably from a thrift store, but that'd be January the earliest. So.
Yeah, that's fantastic, Director Beamish. Thank you for that. Director Lee.
Yeah, thanks to Seashell, we have a new auto supply store. So I'm way more eager to shop local now.
Yes, there's tons of tremendous opportunities, and as Director Toth said earlier during his report, the whole whether it's a gift certificate or an experience or anything like that, anything we can do to support our local Sunshine Coast economic community would be fantastic. So, Director McMahon, anything else on this? Or anyone else, anything else? Okay. Corporate Officer.
Thank you, Chair. Sorry, I have one final piece of business. I would like to request a formal standalone resolution to schedule the December 3rd, 2020 special board meeting at 1:30 p.m.
Okay, so I see a move and a second for that. Any further discussion on that? See none, I will call the question. All those in favor? Thank you. Those opposed? That's great. Motion carries. Thank you, Corporate Officer. With that, that ends our regularly scheduled agenda. We will be moving in camera, so I will ask for a motion that the public be excluded from attendance at the meeting in accordance with sections 91 AC, numbers 1A and C of the Community Charter. And then we will go to questions from the audience. So I see that moved and seconded. All those in favor? Thank you. Motion carries. Attendees, I see our alternate director from Gibson's is in the gallery. Did you have a question for us, Mr. Kroll? If you do, could you raise your hand, please? Oh, there we go. Director Kroll, if you'd like to unmute yourself, you can please go ahead.
It wasn't so much a question, Chair Pratt. I was just sort of following the proceedings with interest, specifically the item on the Gibson's pool. Is, you know, it doesn't seem to want to go away with good reason. And also just to thank Director McMahon for the link to the BC thing. Although looking at it quickly, I didn't see any local businesses, but I'll keep looking.
You can sort geographically, and there is a category for Sunshine Coast.
Oh, okay. I'll keep looking. Thank you. But if I don't see you before, I wish everyone a very happy Christmas and carry on the good work.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Alternate Director Kroll. I know you miss us, so thanks for stopping in on your free time to watch, I guess.
Thank you.
Okay, take care, David. IT, did we have any other questions come up through the chat?
No, there were no other questions.
Okay, and we didn't have anything come through via email to staff? No? Okay. All right, so with that, we will be moving in camera. I'm going to give everybody just 2 minutes to make sure that you've secured your place. Does anyone need longer than 2 minutes, or are we okay? Okay, just 2 minutes to secure your space. Okay. We'll be right back.
I'm going to take my leave of you guys. I got to get Sarah to soccer practice for 3.
And welcome back to your regularly scheduled Sunshine Coast Regional District Board meeting of November 26, 2020. 1 month from today, it's Boxing Day. Think about that. So with that, I am going to ask for a motion to adjourn, please. So move Director Seegers, seconded Director McMahon. All those in favor? Thank you. Motion carries. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you again next time. And Remco's going to paddle into his lake. All right. Bye, everyone. Take care.